Hi, I'm Wild Bill, and I'd like to talk about martial arts today. Yeah. Total wax on, total wax off, total wax off a lot. Cause brain damage. So, talk about martial arts today, and I'm going to talk about music today because they're very similar in some ways. We call everything martial arts. Like the Chinese call everything kung fu. You can have cooking kung fu. You can have, whatever your area of expertise is your kung fu. If they say your kung fu is very good, it might be you're a cab driver, right? You might be an exotic dancer. I sure hope you are, because I'd rather watch you than karate. But I don't think that's the case. And this is how I look at it, because I like to decline things that I can have further understanding of the person who's talking or presenting himself or herself to me, and not have preconceived notions that are proven false halfway through a conversation. One of the ways I do it is by trying to understand how I look at a topic and how they might look at a topic. So today I'm going to try to bring us all into the same playing field about martial arts and about musical arts. A martial art is a combination of technical skills, which are taught through a master, ordinarily, or through a comic book, or a pamphlet like this you got out of a comic book for $1. And real-time problem solving, which you do when you get into a fight, right? So you have the technical skills, plus you have the creativity that you're going to need to bring to the fore in order to get through certain passages that your technical skills aren't really preparing you for or haven't prepared you for. You may not have a ground game. You may be a boxer who all his life has stood like this and had 3-minute rounds and doesn't know what it's like to have some guy that like grabs you by the legs, upends you, now you're on the ground, and he knows how to choke and you don't. Or you might be a guy that's really good at choking, but you don't know how to get from here to that guy who can hit you hard enough to knock you down in one shot. So, you might be the world's greatest archer, but you'll run out of arrows eventually. You might be the world's greatest swordsman, but there might be an archer on that hill, right? Or a sniper. So, I'm going to decline for you the difference between the approaches, the philosophical approaches to combat, and then show you how that works with music too. So, what we call the martial arts are really a very definitive portion of the whole gamut of military science. First we have the fighting arts: karate, kung fu, boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, throwing a tomahawk. Those are the fighting arts because they teach you fighting skills, right? And then there are the martial arts: road march order, march in general, bivouacking, camp sanitation, logistics in every possible form, which is, making sure that the guy has the supply that he needs at that moment, making sure that healthcare worker has that mask that she needs, making sure that this lieutenant has the radio that he's using to call in artillery. That's logistics. That's addentive to the basic training that the soldier undergoes. He now needs the equipment that's provided to him by his logistical support. And that is a martial art. And knowing where to put the latrines and to put them downhill from your drinking water, that's camp sanitation. And that's bivouacking. These are martial arts. They deal with more than one soldier. The approach to war rather than the approach to personal combat. So you have the fighting arts. I have friends who are experts in the fighting arts, by the way. Shout out to Corsair Fencing in Etna. You guys want to see real martial artists at work, or real, in this case, I call them fighting artists, real fighting artists at work, give them a call. Go on down and give them a watch. It's a joy, really. If you're interested in watching experts do what they do best, those are guys to watch. So, you have the fighting arts on this side, and you have the martial arts on this side. This is man against man, right? Man against bear, right? The chicken or pigeon against car, you know. But this, on this side, is the larger scale of it. This is the martial arts, the arts of armies, divisions, battalions, companies, platoons, squads, more than one man. This is knowing how to put people in the right place at the right time in order to get a job done. This is knowing about how to defend yourself or how to attack somebody for whatever reason. They are different. This employs a lot of this. This can employ a lot of that, but generally only an organized military or police force. So we have fighting artists, martial artists, and then guys like me that swing a sword around but really aren't very good at it. Practice karate 5 times a day, never be any good at it. We are martial arts or fighting arts hobbyists or enthusiasts. For us, it's a hobby. We don't make it our life's work. I'm not dedicated like Vince or Brandon or Gary. I'm not dedicated, right? I'm not dedicated like Dwight D. Eisenhower or General Westmoreland. Might as well give him a shout out. He doesn't get many. We're hobbyists. So I'm going to move that from the military venue, where we have martial artists, fighting artists, and hobbyists, to the musical venue, where we have musicians, musical artists, and musical hobbyists. And now I'm going to let us all down and describe what I mean. Musician is a compound word and a hyphen, used to be a hyphenated word, and now it is a contraction. Without the apostrophe, means it's been in use a long time. Musician. Musical technician. That's literally what it means. A technician is a person who is proficient in the technical skills necessary for his craft. Yeah. It generally means that a person has accredited training. Right. So a musician is a person who understands music from the technical, i.e. scientific, point of view. For them, it doesn't have to be, but it is largely a case of music being mathematical, even though there are 2 major components. There's the mathematical and there's the non-mathematical component of music, which I'll go into. I have a friend who's a fighting artist who went to school and was forced to take a humanity. And he didn't know what to take, so he took music history. He thought it would be easy. His music history teacher said, I want you to go get a keyboard, and I want you to learn to play this song, this classical tune, Claude Debussy or whatever it was. And my friend was like, I'm as musical as a stone, sir. I can't do that for you. And the guy said to him, you're good with math, aren't you? And he said, well, yeah. And he said, well, music is math. Watch this, and showed him how music is math. And my friend went, okay. Showed up at my door, says, Bill, give me a keyboard. I had an extra one. Thanks, Joe Macinda, for selling me the stringer. Handed it to him. He came back 2 weeks later, says, listen to this, and played that Claude Debussy piece for me. You dick. Played it better than I could. Me. And he's as musical as a stone. So yeah, musical is partly mathematical and can be performed solely in a mathematical venue. That's called classical music, where all the creativity is on the part of the guy who wrote it. And everything else is just you trying to get how he wrote it exactly right. And there's a guy up on the stage going tick, 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 abusing you because he's got an interpretation of that too. It's obviously wrong, but you're going to have to go with it because everybody else is listening to him. That's musicianship. See a chart. Right? He doesn't go... He's not doing that because that isn't what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be using his technical skills to do something exactly precisely right with a bunch of other people at the same time. Nobody can make a mistake or it sounds bad. And there's a guy up there berating you, telling you that your interpretation is wrong. Do it his way, do it his way. and he never met the guy that wrote the piece. That's doing music by mathematics. And some of the great classical musicians, of which Andre Previn is the prime example for me, cannot play piano without a chart in front of them. I watched it happen. I watched Andre Previn fall to pieces at a professional concert. He's paid for down at the Stanley Theater. Thanks, Jeff Malter. He dragged me down to see Ella Fitzgerald, Herb Ellis, and Andre Previn as a trio. And this, you got to say, is, wow, who wouldn't go see that if you had any interest in jazz? And I had interest in jazz because it was force-fed to me at a very impressionable time. Thanks, Andy Fight. And so I went, and we got to see what happens when an all-mathematical musical person, a technician, a musician, comes into contact with artistry unprepared. This is how different these things are. This is why I'm talking about it this way today. Ella and Andre and Herb, I'm not on first-name basis with any of them, but I'm just doing this for brevity. Played the first song. It was beautiful. Man, 3 seasoned professionals doing something exactly right that they knew how to do. First song's over. Applause is dying down. Andre turns to page 2, and Ella goes like this. Andre, no, let's not play that one. Hey, Herb, give me a few bars, The Lady Be Good. Andre spent 3 minutes going. It was the most embarrassing thing I ever saw. If I could get paid for doing that, I wouldn't be a musician or a musical performer. I'd be a clown. Red Skelton could have done that. Maybe not as well as Andre did. That's shameful, Andre. Really, you don't deserve the respect you got for being the crossover guy, because you obviously aren't and weren't. Sorry for you guys who are fanboys of his, but I know something about music. You may not. So, Andre crashed because all he had was the left brain of music. All he had was the mathematical side of music. There's nobody better at it. Wow! If that's all there was to music, there would be no jazz. There would be no rock. There would be no blues. There would only be classical music forever. And we'd still be playing the same dried out tunes by Debussy and Beethoven. You'll still find people that are musical that will say, well, there are no better tunes. There's nothing else since. Which means that they are the one thing that no musical artist should ever be, closed-minded about music. So, we've got musical technicianship, right? That's what a musician is. And none of us, except for Megan Pennington, is a musician, right? We can't write a chart. We can't say, hey, listen, you've been playing that song in A. I'm moving it down to B flat. Wait, you can't do that on the capo. Yeah. That's how a musician can be. Not all, and not like the worst, but that is what requires musical proficiency and musical technical mastery, that kind of thing. Be able to have somebody lay down a chart and you'll go like, okay, it's in A flat? Yeah, it's that many flats, so it's an A flat. So it's got to be, or no, it's, right, it's, there's the A flat major scale. So everything you find, all the scale tone chords will be in there. So you know you're going to find this. That makes sense. Okay? That's how musicianship works. You see a chart and you use your musical technical skills and your mathematical ability to turn that into hand motions. And then if you're going to be performing the same piece over and over again, you also develop muscle memory. Then there's musical artistry. Not the same thing. This is musicianship. And I think I can safely say that none of us, except maybe Megan Pennington, is a musician. Johnny Sundo is. You guys that know Johnny, he's a musician. He can write charts. He can read badly written charts and figure out what's going on because now he knows what key it's in. Johnny's pretty cool. His mentor taught him well. Frank Conamundo, you are an excellent teacher. I wish I was a good student because I certainly would have taken lessons from you. So the other side of this paradigm is musical artistry. Musical artistry is not mechanical, it's not mathematical. Musical artistry is that sounds right. That feels right. A pause has to happen here because those are nonverbal communications that your mind is trying to make. Those are things that have to do with non-mechanical, non-quantifiable impulses. If you can quantify them using your technical skills, wow, you're getting pretty good. And that's what the best do. They bring technical mastery and artistic proclivity together into perfect union. I don't do that. I'm like mostly this. I'm a little bit of that. But then there's another part of the musical paradigm, just like there was another part of the martial arts paradigm. Do you remember? The martial artist, the fighting artist, the enthusiast or hobbyist. With music, there is the musician, the musical technician. There is the musical artist, the creative talent that makes new things, right? And then there's the person that just loves the oldies and loves some band, and so he picks up the guitar or the piano or the flute or whatever he picks up or she picks up, right? And then learns to kind of play those songs, right? One man or in a band. Those are musical hobbyists. People that are not high technically skilled, are not well educated, people that are not intensely creative, but people that have an honest love, a respectable love for for music. In this case, it's not their art or their craft, it's their hobby. In this case, it's their craft. In this case, it's their art. And in the case of the very best, it's the art and the craft fused into a perfect gestalt. Word win. Gestalt is something of which the sum is greater than the parts. I love that description. So for those of us that call ourselves musicians, I think we're mostly one and all wrong, except for Megan Pennington and Johnny Sundo. A few people like that that are technically trained, and the classical musicians among us, some of whom have artistic ability, or might have it if they were given free rein, but their job involves zero art and 100% math. 100% math. If you don't do it right, the whole band sounds bad. Collective responsibility. We are all punished because you're an ass. That's why I work alone. And if I make a mistake, nobody else gets punished. So I'm kind of like mostly over here as a musically themed poet. That's what my reality is. I have some small technical skill, some small understanding of the craft and the science and the technical end of my art. I do have a little bit of understanding, not much. Johnny Sundo, Andy Fight, any good classical musician could run rings around me in music theory. Oh my gosh. But my job has always been to create pretty paintings in music, not to master its intricacies, which would help me. The more language you learn, the better the poet you are, and I'm a musical poet. You'd think I'd want to learn the language of music as well. So I'm almost just a musically themed hobbyist, because I'm not dedicated to learning the science. But I employ my creativity to its fullest, and thereby make up for gaps in my technical expertise. And I attach myself to the need for it every day, whether I'm playing or not. I'm being musical in my head all the time. I'm hearing musical resonance in every sound that comes to me from the highway. Everything's a distraction when I'm trying to concentrate, because I'm hearing new music and everything, or I'm hearing old music and things. So here we go again, one last time, and then I'll get off. It's a long run, I know. Musical technicianship. How many of you out there, leave a message in the comments if you've gone through this, how many of you out there are musical technicians? How many of you out there can write a chart, read a chart, play from a chart, work in a band that's working from charts? How many of you out there are musical artists who use their limited or their full knowledge of music, whatever their level is, right, to create new works of art. And which among us are musical enthusiasts, people that love music and they want to be part of it, but they're not experts in the science of music, and they're not creative geniuses either. They're lovers of music. They're just as important as the other two, really. Who'd ever hear a Jim Croce song if 1,000 bands didn't play it, right? That's what I had to say today. It's all about perspective. I talk about perspective a lot, and there's my perspective on this. If you want to be a great musical artist, if you have the ability to be a great musical artist, if you have the potential to be one, I heartily suggest that you get some technical training. Don't go poo-poo, I don't need that. That's like saying, I don't need the other half of my dictionary because I don't need those words. Yes, you do. You need them, I need them, everyone needs them. But at least pick up some of them. Improve your vocabulary, musically speaking, and what you can do and how you can think, and what relationships you understand. In case you write, and you might want to add something new, something different, or something old that you can blend into something new, which is the epitome, right, of the musical tradition. The people hear a hint of what has come before, and you show how you have made it different and beautiful and unique. Wild Bill.